Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's Wednesday webinar. I'm Chris Orestes, and I appreciate you joining us this week and every week for our 5-minute brainstorms, where we cover a hot topic in literally about 5 minutes. This week, we're going to talk about the 5 stages of long-term care. You know, senior living and long-term care is actually a very complicated mix of a variety of care providers, different types of care environments that all have different eligibility requirements, taking into account also people's own personal preferences, but also the financial requirements to access certain types of care and people's ability to be able to qualify from a needs base and a financial base to get to the kind of senior living or long-term care that they desire. And I think what I see a lot of out there is people tend to take for granted that they just sort of understand long-term care, this vague concept of, yeah, nursing homes, assisted living communities, home care. Yep, got it. That all makes sense. But it's actually a pretty complicated mix of environments and care providers. And it's not easy to navigate what I call the long-term care industrial complex. Once people do become engaged in the process, they can quickly become overwhelmed trying to really get to the differences between what is the best kind of care that they should or possibly can access, and whether it's administered in a facility-based environment, a home-based environment, or what some people don't realize is where they start the journey could change as their needs change, as their financial abilities change, as their level of care needs and or financial position starts to evolve. That can change what they might qualify for starting now and where they get to as their care needs continue to evolve. So let's go through the 5 stages of long-term care. Often it can evolve from start to finish on this trajectory. Knowing the differences between home care and a nursing home, differences between memory care, assisted living, what are the differences between hospice and palliative care? It's important as we're going through these 5 stages because they're easily confused what the difference and similarities are from one to the next. So stage 1, oftentimes the journey is going to begin with home care. But there's a variety of levels of home care provided by different kind of home care providers. Many people will start out first with non-medical or companion care. And that's somebody who's coming in, maybe helping to do some cooking, transportation, so some housekeeping, some companionship at the home, but nothing yet that really involves what would be some level of skilled or medical care. As care needs progress, you could get to an actual full home healthcare environment, which would be physician ordered and typically more of a short-term recovery, rehabilitation environment being attended to by medical professionals. But it could also evolve to a long-term care environment, and that would be bringing in skilled private duty nursing care to be receiving similar care that you might receive at the same level in a nursing home. So just inside home care alone, there's 3 levels of care provided by different care providers that are very different. From the non-medical are literally people without any kind of medical certification or training to full actual medical providers, CNAs, that are specifically licensed and reimbursed for providing care at home. The next stage may then be moving towards assisted living. And this becomes a situation where somebody has a need for assistance with their activities of daily living. As activities of daily living start to slip, it may become time to move into an assisted living community, which also can provide an opportunity for people to not be living in isolation. You're moving into a, a social and active, robust living environment. There's meals provided and social opportunities. There's private apartments that people can live in. Uh, People in assisted living tend to still be mobile. They have the ability to get around. They're still somewhat independent, but now living in a community environment. And each will have their own customized personal care plans that will provide for a variety of attendants to beginning to see the ADL slipping, meal plans, some medicine management, but still these are people that are not yet at a skilled nursing uh, uh, level of care. Now, in assisted living, you can also find memory care, and people oftentimes don't realize that that's a separate form of care. It's a separate level of care, often provided in an assisted living facility, but in its own wing, because this is for people that are experiencing now advancing stages of dementia, Alzheimer's. There's cognitive decline here that's becoming noticeable and impacting the quality of life and, quite frankly, the safety of that person. So when you move over into memory care, it's still not that's not a skilled care, skilled nursing environment, but it is an environment where you're getting higher level of security and safety measures, protecting that person 24/7 from things like wandering, leaving the facility, getting lost, potentially hurting themselves or hurting others. There's specially trained staff in place that focus on working with people with cognitive decline. The floor plans for the apartment they're living in, the unit they're living in, and the overall layout of the wing or the memory care facility itself are very specifically designed to reduce confusion and agitation for the people that are living there. And there are a number of cognitive specific therapies and programs that the residents will access to help work on abating the decline of their cognitive function and relieving stress, giving them activities that will keep them calm, keep them in a better quality of life by focusing on their special needs in this environment. But as things progress, you can get to a point where it really does become now a matter of the need for medical attention, and that's skilled care, stage 4. Somebody at this point is probably lost mobility, their ability to be able to move around on their own, maybe wheelchair bound, or because of their advanced cognitive decline, are again a threat to themselves or others. People potentially who may fall, injure themselves, and are in need of daily medical treatments and therapies. In these environments, which can be delivered at home or still staying at an assisted living community or even maybe in a memory care unit, you have now specifically licensed medical providers approved by Medicare, Medicaid, in Medicare, Medicaid approved environments to deliver actual medical care, skilled nursing care. Uh, Oftentimes, skilled care, although it can be accessed at home or potentially delivered through in an assisted living community by somebody who would come and actually work with them at the community. But for the most part, this is going to be found in nursing homes. The vast majority of people who get to stage 4 and are receiving skilled care are going to be doing that in a nursing home. And then stage 5, we get to the point of hospice or palliative care. This is where you are at a point of advanced disease treatment with palliative care, or you've reached end of life care and it's no longer time, you're no longer treating the disease. You're really just focusing on relieving pain, relieving symptoms, working with the person that's being treated and the family. So the best way to look at the difference between palliative care and hospice care, which are often confused, is palliative is still care being delivered in unison with medical treatment. The symptoms of, say, cancer and chemotherapy, while you're undergoing treatment, trying to recover from a condition. You could also add palliative care to your treatment regimen. But if you've gotten to the point where it's end of life, typically in increments of 6 months or less to live, then it's time to move to hospice care, which can be delivered at home, in a nursing home, in an assisted living community. And this is the point where it's comfort, counseling, relief of pain and symptoms. People can recover from hospice and then go back to their environment that they previously were in, and then maybe return to hospice later. But for many people, once they enter hospice, that truly is a end of life stage. So in these various stages and environments for long-term care and senior living is the all-important factor of funding, and where and how is this paid for? Well, when you look at these different categories of care, keep in mind this is sort of a broad categorization of it, but home care is primarily a private pay environment. Are there situations where Medicare or Medicaid could cover? Yes, but the vast majority of home care is going to be through private pay, covered by private pay resources. And the same with assisted living. The vast majority of people in assisted living are going to be paying private pay to be in that environment. The same is true for memory care. The vast majority of memory care is delivered private pay. That is, memory care is not considered skilled medical care. Now, in a home care, in an assisted living, in a memory care environment, skilled care can be delivered, and just the skilled care portion could potentially be covered by Medicare or Medicaid if somebody were to qualify. But it's important to look at those first three stages as being private pay environments for the most part. As you move into the nursing home environment, the vast majority of people in nursing homes are being paid for their care by Medicaid. And then if you get to the point where it's hospice or palliative care, that is primarily actually paid for by Medicare. So here's your lineup of funding options for the stages of care, the primary environments where care is going to be found. And it's important to remember as you're working with clients or with loved ones that navigating the long-term care process is a complex process. There's a lot of variables, there's a lot of requirements. There's the types of care, there's how to qualify, there's how to pay for it, there's the transitions from one form to the next. And that's why this is often referred to as a journey, because where most people conclude this journey is going to be very different than where they started out, where they began the journey. And knowing how to navigate that for a family is critical to get the best possible outcome, to have the least amount of stress, the least amount of financial distress going through this process, as it takes months or possibly years. So I want to thank you all so much for joining this week's 5-Minute Brainstorm, the 5 stages of long-term care. I invite you to join us again next week and every Wednesday for our weekly Wednesday webinar, the 5-Minute Brainstorm. I'm Chris Orestes, and I want to thank you again for having spent this time with us today.